So thankfully, a lot of the stuff that has been brought up before, irrespective of whether it's visual or language-based, does apply. So yes, we didn't plan it. Yes, I'm James, and I'm from a company called Visual Content Consultancy. Let me see if I can, yeah, that works. So I'm in the creative industries. Is anybody here in the creative industries or marketing or anything like that? Small handful. Well, everybody else get bored. Yeah, so for me in the creative industries, every post I put as an early adopter to AI and Gen AI and all of the other things, every post I put, I always get about 10% where people are saying you're killing it, you're going to destroy our jobs, and all of those kind of negative connotations that I'm sure anybody who works in this space has felt. And in fairness, I kind of, from our perspective, see what they're saying, because of the fact that when you were talking at the very beginning, you were talking about the fact that the biggest disruptor is in sales and marketing, which is exactly where I work all the time. It's exactly where all of the guys in marketing and creative industries and agencies and all sorts of things, they work on a regular basis. So I think it was a language problem in terms of the fact that they were considering AI as generative AI with the goal to create faster content generation. A lot of the stuff I do is content, by the way, so there you go. Creative simplification and automation of all of the stuff that we see on various social medias, all the stuff that we see out there, all the stuff that we see on television. And volume and demand focused through personalisation. People are really, expecting that these things are going to basically black mirror it. And to a certain extent, these possibilities are true. But actually, where we are at the moment, utilitarian use of AI or operational AI is far more exciting. And when I get to that kind of point and start showing you some stuff, which is cool, this is exactly where I sit, really. I sit in augmenting the creatives. I sit in augmenting how we do what we want to do, take our creatives and their vision and basically create it in a quicker, more efficient, more scalable, and more sustainable way. I look at how production is handled throughout the whole process. So that's all sorts of different production pipelines, from e-commerce content all the way up to TV and film and all the rest of that stuff, and how we can enhance that and how we can automate the boring stuff. And I've got good examples for pretty much all of this here. This is one of the key points for us. Nobody really wants to say they enjoy watching or engaging with AI content, but everyone is doing it, and everyone is creating content to creating ways of creating content without having to replicate either production, shoots, high expensive, high turnaround, high timeline, and highly wasteful, sustainability-wise, highly wasteful practices. And everybody that is engaging with AI from the top down, from the board down, is saying, oh, let's throw in a Gen AI, let's throw in this, let's do this, let's do this. So everybody is looking at that on a tool by tool, an app by app, an API by API basis, and not really looking at it as a holistic integration with what they're doing or what they're expected to do. They're kind of looking at it on a single use basis, which is obviously killing it because of the fact that everybody can find a tool for anything, and my inbox is full of them every single day. Yeah, I love to look at them, but at the end of the day, those aren't integrating with how some big business runs content generation across their entire marketing and e-commerce solution. So I took a pretty big leap and left a fairly cushy job at the end of last year to become a consultant. And yeah, I've been in big agency, production companies and big brand for 25 years, and learning how to build and grow internal content solutions, marketing solutions, and production pipelines for big brands, really, but also for big agencies to sell to big brands. And so what I'm doing in this content solution kind of thing is helping link all of these factors into a defined and pre-existing environment. So I'm basically trying to augment what they do and not replace them in any way, because as a creative at heart, that's the whole purpose of doing it. But what I want to get to is really how I kind of have been doing that and where I've been doing that with clients. And actually in this year, the reason that some of these have changed is because of the fact that AI is a big thing, but actually the budgets are coming down. The socioeconomic climate has changed how marketing is handled. You know, COVID implications, how we view and engage with content is completely changing, and how we handle commerce is completely changing. So that's demanded that we change the way that we create content. And actually, that used to be like 20 different agencies that would be involved in that process. There would be PR agencies talking to digital agencies, talking to SEO agencies, talking to all of these other disparate individual processes. And what I'm trying to do is basically say that some of these can have a conversation with each other without actually needing to stop working with the brand or needing to keep working in the same way. And this kind of all for one and all in one content marketing process doesn't work if you aren't going to have the knowledge in the background. So one of the biggest things for me was always the way that things are getting deployed at the moment from young creatives and juniors is kind of linear. It's kind of misguided. It's not driven on a backbone of knowledge. It's not driven on a backbone of experience, and therefore how they integrate some of those things is kind of top level, and it's going to get very boring and very easy to mess around with very quickly. So what I found is kind of this emergence of pattern in how we're linking tools and how we're linking processes across things like CGI, things like virtual production, things like AR, things like even photography, video, and trying to link all of those processes of how we do production into a singular unit and help create something that is more fluid and flexible for a brand to apply AI to, but also to apply variation or personalization or context. You guys all talk about keeping the prompt. I want to kind of kill it, because the prompt for me is the one bit that is screwing up all the consistency. It's screwing up all of the coherence between the approach for me. And so in any of the stuff that we do, I'm trying to basically minimize the prompt and maximize it in other ways. So that might be control nets or any of the other adapters that we're IP adapters and things like that I'm using to control and keep the creative control with the artist. And so what I'll show you is an example of where we are using AI a lot that we didn't even know we were. If anyone knows, does anyone know rotoscoping? Anyone who knows rotoscoping will be like, this is a shit job. And it really is a shit job. It's something that it takes an awful lot of time, clipping paths, things like that. It takes an awful lot of time to do this, and it's frame by frame. You're basically drawing around objects in the frame to create a clear mask to therefore do something with it in the background. That might be to add depth. It might be, in this instance, to probably put something on the wall there. But we don't really know. But the point is that using ML platforms and Nuke was done 5-10 years ago, but in Nuke, which is quite a difficult program to use, and it's quite an advanced program for a lot of high-end VFX houses. Now stuff like that is built into Runway, and it's now released and built into the whole Adobe package. In literally 2-3 years, we're talking about something that was really, really complex to handle being automatic now, which means that if you think about it from this way, which means that when you used to do this, you do this in post, so that term of fix it in post. When you used to do something like that, you'd be looking at hours and hours and hours. But now we're actually changing the way that we shoot content. So rather than knowing that we can do that in post means that we don't have to fix it on the set or change the creative or the narrative or the way that we deliver that content. And that's the end. No. Shall I just... I think it's crashed. There you go. Yeah, so certain things like in painting, out painting, object segmentation, clip extension, things like that are all now really easy to do, and those were an absolute ball ache to do just 3 or 4 years ago. Has this run out? Has this died? No, it's on. I'll just use this. So I'm going to take hands up if anybody knows what virtual production is. Anyone? Yeah, okay. So virtual production is the intersection between digital and physical, and we basically shoot right there in the middle. But we build physical components in there, and the background is all virtual. So back in the day, that used to be either flat plates, green screen, or more recently, in the last 3 to 5 years, would have been something like Unreal, which is all fine and all very, very technical, but actually not really anything to do with AI. So the next step for some of this stuff is where we start integrating physical components with virtual components at the same time and controlling them in the singular place, and then adding capability back to the creative. One sec. So I've got a couple of videos here. Will they play automatically? No. Okay, so this is a Gaussian splat, if anybody ever knows anything about that. What we put on those screens, like I say, used to be a still. It used to be something where you do either that or a parallax, which is where you basically cut it up, and you have that kind of level of parallaxial movement to handle that. We also used to use a lot of Unreal and or video. So now we're looking at certain areas where point cloud data and capturing point cloud data and turn that into Gaussian splats and NeRFs allows us to capture physical environments and then put things directly into the shoot on those backgrounds. Oh, dearie me. And this is a collection of work, how that has basically been deployed over physical attributes in small studios around the country very, very quickly. But this is across as well. This isn't just TV stuff. This is across like e-com stuff as well. It becomes very, very easy to capture and recreate content really, really quickly and then reuse it. So the biggest expense in some of these big productions is the crew and the time on set. Whereas actually, if you can extend the life of the asset by creating something that has more longevity to it, it means that we can start to do... Sorry.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to clarify, is what we're looking at here that the actual space is all of that white, everything's white at the beginning, and then you're all of that stuff using generative AI, or is that...
No, some of that's composition, but yes, that shot there is composed, but it was a digital double as well. So we actually created the initial part, scanned it, and then used that later on to create longer life out of the asset, because that's quite a heavy set to keep up. All of these others are AI. So that's a TV advert for Gosh, which was out last year. You can see some of those. There's me, actually, in one of them. But most of the others, the backgrounds are AI. And the reason we were doing that is because of the fact that set, location, sustainability, getting all the crew out there and all the crew back, and actually really utilising the asset to the best capability. So it's quite an interesting one for augmentation. But once you're there, you can then start to look at how you can integrate physical attributes. So we've talked about the lights, but robotics and turntables and all sorts of other things, how those start to link in with the AI that's controlling some of the backgrounds and kind of start to create this landscape of movement where we're actually able to really control the environment and then recreate the environment in a virtual space to enable us to apply additional assets to it. And I'll show you some of those right now. So this is what that looks like, by the way. Hang on. I don't know why that's not working, but there you go. Is that moving? No. Here we go. Okay, so a lot of the stuff that I'm doing very recently is node-based. I absolutely love node-based because anything that I can't do, I just block off the node and I will be able to do it in a matter of time. And how we're linking all of the nodes and changing all of the nodes are attributes that I want to be able to control within that production, within that visual space. So allowing me to basically build and augment what that pipeline on that process is over a long period of time and still be able to go back through when inevitably something new and a new way of creating something comes out and I need to augment that, I can very quickly go back in and change that. That's a very VFX-y way of working, but this is what I'm on about when I'm talking about the augmentation of content production, because this is kind of a 3D workflow that's now leaking into all of the rest of the marketing process, and it's now leaking into live action video production as well. So this is an example I can show. There's lots that I can't, but this is one I can show that went out last week. This was a campaign for JD, and it was off the back of some very rough PR information that they got because they were heroing almost like a hooliganism approach to like dirt bikes and this dirt bike culture, but not actually leveraging what the dirt bike culture was. So our conversation with them was, how do we build the fire, stoke the fire of this campaign because it was really working for them, but also retroactively fix the problems that were in the original content piece by augmenting the content. So the biggest thing that lots of people were shouting about was nobody was wearing a helmet. So we took the original video footage, put CG helmets on it, ran it through an AI function, then gave it a narrative and started and did all this in 4 days, by the way. So. Oh, and the shoes are real. So alongside something like that, there's components in there that are CGI. So we had to recreate parts of legs, we had to recreate the shoes, we had to recreate various other components and the helmets and everything, and then integrate all of those together, track those all together, but again, using massively AI augmented tools, and then run those through a Comfy UI and Stable Diffusion format, and then deliver on a variety of different edits and edits and socials and all the rest of that stuff, all within a very, very tight timeline. We started to glitch the shoes in. We started to bring in different examples and designs, and actually the next campaign that we're working on now is a live representation of that. So the integration of immersive into this same pipeline, but it's the exact same thing. It's just a different distribution.